I didn't realize I was still wearing his shirt until my phone lit up. It buzzed against my thigh, sharp and impatient, right as I was standing in the middle of the bedroom. The room still looked disturbed. Pillows shifted, curtains half drawn, a glass of water sweating on the nightstand. Morning light slid across the floor like it was trying not to see anything. The shirt hung loose on me. Dark blue. Too big. The cuffs brushed my wrists every time I moved, soft and unfamiliar. When I lifted my arm to read the message, the fabric pulled against my skin, and a wave of scent rose with it. Not my detergent. Not my husband's clean, predictable cologne. Something warmer. Closer. Human. My heart kicked hard before my eyes even focused. I'm on my way. No name. There didn't need to be one. I stood there frozen, phone glowing in my hand, the weight of those 4 words pressing into my chest. On my way meant 20 minutes. Maybe less if traffic was kind. It meant keys in the ignition. A familiar car. A life that expected me to look the same as always. I looked down at myself. Bare legs. Messy hair falling into my face. And that shirt. His shirt. Wrinkled at the waist where I'd slept in it without meaning to. I lifted the collar and breathed in before I could stop myself. The scent hadn't faded overnight. It clung stubbornly like it knew it didn't belong to me. My stomach tightened. I hadn't planned this part. I hadn't planned to still be wrapped in evidence when reality knocked. Somewhere down the hall, the apartment creaked as it cooled. A car passed outside. Normal sounds. Ordinary life continuing while I stood there, caught between what had already happened and what was about to walk through the door. The phone buzzed again. Nothing new, just the screen dimming. A reminder. I pressed the fabric to my chest, my fingers curling into it like it could anchor me, like it could decide for me. Because in that moment, with his scent on my skin and my husband closing the distance, I knew this wasn't just a mistake anymore. It was a threshold. And I was standing in it wearing the wrong shirt, with nowhere left to hide. I should have taken it off right then. That would have been the responsible thing. The obvious thing. Pull the shirt over my head, toss it in the hamper, erase the proof before it had a chance to accuse me. Instead, I walked into the bathroom and caught my reflection. The mirror showed someone I barely recognized. Eyes too bright, lips slightly swollen like I'd been biting them in my sleep. The shirt slipped off one shoulder, exposing skin that still felt sensitive, awake. I touched my collarbone without thinking, my fingers pausing where warmth lingered, as if my body hadn't gotten the message that last night was over. The shirt smelled stronger in the steam of the shower I didn't turn on. I leaned closer to the sink, gripping the edge. This wasn't how it was supposed to start. Affairs were supposed to be deliberate, weren't they? Calculated. Cold. This had been slow. It started weeks ago, with conversations that lingered a beat too long. With the way he listened, not just nodded but actually stayed quiet like my words mattered enough to wait for. With how he stood just a little too close, not touching but never stepping back either. The first time I noticed the shirt was the night he handed it to me. "You're cold," he said, simple as that. We were sitting on his couch, a movie playing that neither of us was watching. My arms were crossed, pretending I hadn't noticed the chill. Pretending I didn't want something that wasn't mine to want. He slipped the shirt over my shoulders like it was nothing, like it didn't mean anything. But it did. It meant his hands brushed my sides, quick but certain. It meant the fabric carried his shape, his heat. It meant I spent the rest of the night aware of my own breathing. And somehow, without a plan or a decision, I ended up here. I turned away from the mirror as a car door slammed outside. My pulse jumped. Too early. I crossed the bedroom, each step loud in my head. The shirt moved against my thighs, whispering with every motion, reminding me that I was still inside his presence. I grabbed my phone again, staring at the message like it might change if I looked hard enough. "I'm on my way." My husband always texted that. It used to make me smile. It used to mean comfort, routine, dinner timing. Now it felt like a countdown. I opened the closet, stared at my neatly hung clothes. Familiar fabrics. Safe colors. A version of me that fit neatly beside him. I reached for a sweater then stopped. My hand dropped. Because somewhere between the mirror and the closet, I realized the problem wasn't the shirt. It was that I didn't want to forget how it felt on me. And that scared me more than getting caught ever could. The knock didn't come yet. That was the cruel part. I had time. Too much of it. I paced the apartment barefoot, the wood cool under my feet. The shirt swayed with me, brushing my thighs, sliding against my skin like it was reminding me where I'd been. Every movement made me aware of my body again. How awake it still felt, how it hadn't returned to the shape of my usual mornings. I went to the kitchen and poured coffee I didn't want. The mug trembled slightly in my hand. I noticed that before anything else. Not the guilt. Not the fear. The trembling. I leaned against the counter, staring out the window, watching the street below. People walking dogs. A woman jogging with headphones in. Life moving forward. Indifferent to the quiet disaster unfolding in my living room. My phone lay face down on the counter. Not buzzing. Not ringing. I lifted the mug to my lips and caught the scent again. The shirt, warmed by my body now, had changed. It smelled like him and me together, softened, blurred. I closed my eyes for half a second too long. And suddenly I wasn't in the kitchen anymore. I was back on his couch, knees drawn up, the room lit only by a lamp in the corner. The movie long forgotten. His voice low, saying my name like it wasn't just a word but a question. The space between us charged, heavy with things we weren't saying. I remembered the pause. The way neither of us moved, like motion itself would make it real. Then his hand, hesitant at first, hovering near my wrist. Not touching. Just close enough that I could feel the heat. I could have pulled away. I didn't. I pressed my lips together now, back in my kitchen, as if that might seal the memory in. My chest tightened. I shifted my weight, the fabric pulling across my skin, and the sensation shot straight through me. Simple. Physical. Unavoidable. I set the mug down untouched. The sound of tires on gravel outside made me flinch. I rushed to the window, heart racing, but it was just another car passing. I laughed under my breath, sharp and quiet. This was what I'd become. Jumping at shadows, measuring seconds. I wrapped my arms around myself, the shirt bunching under my fingers. For a moment I imagined opening the door not to my husband, but to him. Imagined the look in his eyes if he saw me like this. Still wearing it. Still undone. The thought made my breath catch. That was when I knew I was in real trouble. Because even with the clock ticking, even with everything at stake, part of me wasn't bracing for impact. It was leaning forward. Listening. Waiting. And when my phone buzzed again, almost there, my body reacted before my mind did. A slow, helpless warmth spreading through me that no amount of reason could cool. I finally took the shirt off. Not because I wanted to, but because the sound of keys in the hallway left me no choice. I slipped it over my head too quickly, the fabric catching for a second, dragging against my skin like it was reluctant to let go. I held it in my hands, bunched and warm, my fingers tightening as the lock turned on the other side of the door. I shoved it into the bedroom closet, behind coats we never wore anymore. Closed the door. Too gently. As if noise alone could betray me. The front door opened. "Hey!" My husband called, voice familiar, easy. The sound of it moved through me in a way it never had before. Not comfort, not relief, but distance. Like hearing a song I used to love now played too loud. "In the kitchen," I said. My voice surprised me. It sounded normal. He stepped in, dropping his keys on the counter. Leaned in to kiss my cheek. I held still. His lips brushed my skin, quick and absent-minded, and all I could think about was how different it felt from the night before. How last night a kiss had lingered without landing, hovering so close it made my knees weak. My husband pulled back and frowned slightly. "You okay?" I nodded. "Too fast. Just tired." He shrugged, already turning away, opening the fridge. The casualness of it made my chest ache. This was our life. Movements memorized, expectations low and steady. No tension. No pause. No heat. I leaned against the counter, suddenly hyper-aware of my clothes. My own shirt felt wrong now, thin, too close to my skin, like it couldn't hide what I was carrying inside. The ghost of another man's presence followed me. Invisible but heavy. My husband grabbed a glass of water. Took a long drink. Watched me over the rim. "You smell different," he said. The words landed softly. No accusation. Just observation. My heart slammed so hard I thought it might give me away. "Different how?" I asked, forcing a small laugh. He tilted his head, considering. "I don't know. Like not your soap." I shrugged, turning away to busy myself with the coffee pot. My hand shook as I rinsed the mug from earlier. Water splashed the counter. I didn't wipe it up. Oh, I said. I showered at the gym yesterday. Maybe it's that. He accepted it without question. That almost hurt more. As he walked past me, his arm brushed mine. A normal touch. Innocent. And still my body reacted, tightening, confused, searching for something it shouldn't. I caught my reflection in the microwave door. My face was calm, composed. But my eyes told the truth. They were still somewhere else. Still pressed against a couch, wrapped in borrowed fabric, listening to a different kind of silence, the kind that waits for you to choose. And even now, standing in my own kitchen with my husband a few feet away, I could still feel the weight of that shirt on my skin, like a secret I hadn't stopped wearing yet. Dinner came and went like a performance I'd rehearsed too well. I moved through the motions, chopping vegetables, setting plates, asking about his day, while my body stayed somewhere else entirely. Every sound felt amplified. The scrape of a chair, the clink of a fork, his voice filling the spaces between us. I nodded at the right moments, smiled when expected, but under the table my foot kept brushing the hem of my jeans, restless, searching for the familiar drag of fabric that wasn't there anymore. I hated myself for noticing its absence. My husband talked about work, a meeting that ran long, a client who wouldn't decide. I watched his mouth as he spoke, the shape of words I'd heard 1,000 times. When did I stop leaning in? When did listening become something I only pretended to do? Are you sure you're okay? He asked again, softer this time. I looked up too late. He was studying me now. Yes, I said. Just distracted. He reached across the table and took my hand. The contact was gentle, affectionate. His thumb brushed my knuckles in a way that used to ground me. Instead, my breath caught, because all I could think about was another hand, hesitant, hovering, waiting for permission. The contrast hit me so hard I had to pull my hand back under the excuse of grabbing my glass. Water spilled over the rim as I poured. My fingers were clumsy. He noticed, of course. You're really off tonight, he said, half smiling. I didn't sleep well, I replied. That part was true. After dinner, he turned on the TV. Something familiar, something safe. He stretched out on the couch, arm draped over the back, leaving space for me. An invitation I'd accepted automatically for years. I sat beside him. The cushion dipped. Our thighs touched. Heat transferred, slow and ordinary. I stared straight ahead, the flickering light washing over us, and tried to quiet the noise inside my chest. He shifted, pulling me closer, my shoulder fitting against his side like it always had. His arm settled around me, possessive without trying to be. My body didn't relax. Instead, it stiffened, caught between instinct and memory, between the man holding me now and the one who wasn't supposed to matter but somehow did. I could almost feel it again, the weight of that shirt, the way it slid when I moved, the way it smelled like a night I couldn't undo. My husband kissed the top of my head. You feel far away, he murmured. I closed my eyes. I'm here, I said. But even as I spoke, my mind betrayed me, drifting to a different room, a different silence, a moment that hadn't demanded anything except honesty. The TV laughed in the background, a canned sound bright and hollow. And curled up on the couch, wrapped in my husband's arms, I realized something that made my chest ache with both fear and longing. I wasn't afraid of being discovered. I was afraid of how much I wanted to go back. That night, my husband fell asleep with his arms still around me. His breathing evened out first, slow and familiar, the rise and fall of his chest pressing into my back. I lay there staring at the dark, every nerve awake, listening to the house settle around us. The TV clicked itself off. Silence rushed in. I waited. Carefully, I lifted his arm and slipped out from under it. He shifted but didn't wake. I stood there for a moment watching him sleep, his face soft in a way it rarely was anymore. Guilt moved through me like a dull ache, present but not sharp enough to stop me. In the bedroom, I closed the door without a sound. The closet waited. I opened it and reached past my coats, my fingers finding the fabric immediately, like they'd memorized it. I pulled the shirt out and held it up in the low light. It looked ordinary hanging there. Just cotton. Just buttons. I pressed it to my face. The scent was still there. My breath hitched, quiet and involuntary. I sat on the edge of the bed, the mattress dipping under my weight, and slid the shirt back on. The fabric settled over my shoulders like it had always belonged there. My skin responded instantly, a slow warmth spreading, my body recognizing something my mind kept trying to deny. I lay back against the pillows, staring at the ceiling, wrapped in borrowed presents. My phone vibrated on the nightstand. Once. I didn't have to look to know. But I did anyway. "Did you make it home okay?" The words were simple. Careful. No pressure. And that made my throat tighten more than anything else could have. I typed. Deleted. Typed again. Yes. 3 letters. A lie by omission. Another vibration followed almost immediately. "Good. I've been thinking about you." I turned onto my side, the shirt twisting around me, the fabric pulling across my ribs. I imagined his voice saying it. Not urgent, not demanding. Just honest. My fingers hovered over the screen. In the other room, my husband shifted in his sleep. I closed my eyes. And still I typed. "Me too." The moment the message sent, something inside me crossed a line I couldn't redraw. There was no rush of panic. No dramatic collapse. Just a quiet, terrifying calm. I set the phone down on my chest and let myself feel it. The weight of the shirt, the hum under my skin, the knowledge that this wasn't finished. Because lying there in the dark, wrapped in another man's scent while my husband slept down the hall, I understood the truth with unsettling clarity. What I'd done wasn't an accident. It was a choice I was still making. I didn't sleep. I lay there listening to the house breathe, the walls ticking softly, the air humming with things unsaid. The shirt tangled around me as I shifted, the sleeves brushing my arms, reminding me with every movement that I was no longer pretending. Sometime near morning, my phone vibrated again. This time I didn't hesitate. I can't stop thinking about last night. I rolled onto my stomach, the mattress cool beneath me, the fabric pulling tight across my back. I stared at the glow of the screen, my pulse loud in my ears. Outside, the sky was just beginning to pale. That quiet moment before the world decided to wake up. I typed slowly. "Neither can I." There it was again, that calm. Not relief. Not excitement exactly. Just acceptance. Like my body had already adjusted to the truth and was waiting for my mind to catch up. In the other room, my husband's alarm went off. The sound sliced through the quiet. I flinched, heart racing, and quickly set my phone face down. Footsteps followed. A yawn. The bathroom door closing. I sat up, pulling the shirt tighter around me, suddenly aware of how wrong it would look in daylight. How impossible it would be to explain. When he knocked on the bedroom door, I was already standing. "Morning," he said, pushing it open. He smiled at me, easy and unguarded. "You coming to bed? Or did you fall asleep in here?" "Couldn't sleep," I said. He stepped closer and kissed my cheek. His lips lingered for half a second longer than usual, like he was trying to find something. I held my breath, terrified he might smell it, that he might know. But he didn't. He pulled away, already reaching for clean clothes, already moving on. As he turned his back, my phone vibrated again in my hand. I looked down. I wish I was there right now. The contrast nearly undid me. The man in front of me, familiar and safe, and the one who existed only in words and memory, somehow closer than ever. My husband grabbed his keys. "I'll see you tonight." "Okay," I said. The door closed behind him. I stood alone in the bedroom, sunlight spilling across the floor, wearing a shirt that wasn't mine, holding a phone that knew too much. And for the first time, I didn't rush to take it off. I sat on the edge of the bed, the fabric warm against my skin, and replied with hands that no longer shook. "I know." Outside, the day fully arrived. And with it, the understanding that nothing was going back to the way it had been. The apartment felt different after he left. Quieter. Wider. Like the walls had stepped back to watch what I would do next. I walked into the kitchen slowly, still wearing the shirt. Sunlight poured through the window, catching on the buttons, tracing the outline of fabric that didn't belong in this space. I ran my hands down the front of it, smoothing wrinkles that told their own story. My phone rested on the counter. One message waited. "Can I see you today?" I stared at it while the coffee machine hummed to life. Steam rose in thin spirals, disappearing into the air. My reflection in the microwave door looked flushed, almost defiant. I typed nothing. Instead, I carried my coffee back to the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed again, the same place I'd crossed the line hours earlier. The mattress dipped under my weight. The shirt slipped off one shoulder, exposing skin that still felt awake, like it remembered every pause, every almost touch. I closed my eyes. I could see him clearly. The way he watched me when I pretended not to notice. The way his jaw tightened when I stood too close. The silence between us that felt louder than any confession. And then I saw my husband's face this morning. Unguarded, trusting. The casual kiss on my cheek. The routine goodbye. Two versions of my life. Both real. My phone buzzed again. I keep picturing you in my shirt. My breath caught. He didn't know I was still wearing it. That detail felt intimate in a way that almost hurt. I stood up abruptly, pacing once across the room then back again. The fabric brushed my thighs with every step, stirring something low and persistent. Clothing as evidence. Proof that last night wasn't imagined. Proof that I had stepped outside the lines and liked the view. I walked to the closet, pulled it open, and stared at my own dresses, my neatly folded sweaters. The safe version of me waited there, quiet and dependable. Slowly, deliberately, I took off the shirt. The air felt cooler instantly. I folded it with careful hands, smoothing each crease like I was handling something fragile. For a moment, I pressed it to my chest one last time, breathing in deeply, memorizing. Then I placed it in the back of the drawer instead of the hamper. Not discarded. Not returned. Kept. My phone buzzed again on the bed. I walked over, bare shoulders exposed now, skin prickling in the sunlight. I picked it up and finally replied. Yes, just that. I set the phone down and looked at myself in the mirror. No shirt. No borrowed scent. Just me. Standing in the aftermath of a decision I couldn't untangle. Somewhere between loyalty and longing, I had found a version of myself I didn't know existed. And the most dangerous part wasn't that I was wearing his shirt. It was that even without it, I could still feel it on my skin.